Welcome back to another week at DroneDJ. This week, we've got a potential ban on drones photographing people or property over the concern for privacy. We've also got South Korea testing drone docking smart city light poles, and we'll find out what that is for. Video of the week, we have another, is it a bird? Is it a drone? And lastly is gossip time. We have potentially a new DJI drone coming out this spring. Now, let's start with privacy concerns. I mean, Kirk, that's not a new topic. Drone
No.
privacy has been debated over and over again. It just seems drastic to me at this point in time. The state of Missouri is debating a complete ban, right, on using drones to photograph people or property.
Yeah, and this is the kind of debate that goes back and forth between privacy of the people, privacy of the pilots.
Right to
There,
fly.
there's valid points on both sides. I mean, I don't think most people in this world probably don't want to be photographed unconsensually, but but also you can't just kind of just flat out say no, you can't just fly over. I mean, there's like I said, there's valid points on both sides. I think that's going to be debated for a while. It's weird that a whole state is. I think you said like whole states doing it because there's city bans, there's county bans, or just like city bans on city parks. Like my city has a straight up ban on flying drones. It's not. I don't think it was designed to be a ban on flying drones. It just kind of like turned into one back in like the 90s. But it's kind of like a there's going to be a really interesting era where we got to kind of figure out who's in charge and who can really put limits. Can the cities and can the states actually do this?
So what's interesting is several years ago, before Canada released the new drone laws back in 2019, we were talking about there was always the discussion of, oh, look at our neighbors down in states. They don't have any restrictions for what we call a horizontal distance, a lateral distance between the drone and people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because back then in Canada, it was 30 meters or 100 feet. So 100 feet, that's the lateral distance you must keep between your drone and someone who's not part of your operation. And essentially, that was a buffer zone. It's a bubble around your drone that was established with concerns on privacy and also for safety. So, say if you're filming a house that's gonna go up on the market,
Mm-hmm.
and you take off from the street and then you fly towards your neighbor's property because you need to get the perspective to look at the house you're actually photographing, then you have to make sure that no one's actually standing in the backyard of the neighbor's yard, because if they
Yep.
were, then your drone would be getting into their bubble, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that wasn't a lot in Canada. That was basically the way of managing privacy. Then new rules came out in 2019, and it came down to the type of drone you're using.
Hmm.
So if the manufacturers submitted their requirements to Transport Canada, and the drone meets what's called the near people category at that point, then it's 5 meters, right, or 16 feet. So it's a lot. The distance is a lot shorter, which made it more feasible for real estate marketing. But if you use a drone, for example, if you use a drone that has redundancy system, a hexacopter, or a large octocopter, or something that has a fail-safe like a parachute that's on, and if it's approved, then that drone can be used over people. At that point, you can actually use that drone to fly over people. So at that point, that becomes more of a safety concern, but it doesn't address the privacy concern, right?
Yeah.
Like Kirk, like what you were saying, if someone looking at this picture here, I'm sure if someone is sunbathing by that pool, they don't want to be photographed from a drone. So before, it was always Canadians looking at states to say, how come, down in states, they don't have any ban for that lateral distance? And it was really, it's really nice. You can fly anywhere. But obviously now we're seeing the backfire of, while you do have issues and we do have a problem, is, you can't just go around photographing people. And for example, so here, for example, we have the professional photographers rules, and also we have the real estate board also have rules over photographing properties. And this is long before drone time, right? So basically, if as far as real estate is concerned, if that house, if you're working for actual realtor, and that house is about to go on market, then the rule is you can photograph the neighboring properties or amenities for the purpose of selling that house. So that was allowed. But you also have to understand, besides that, you also got privacy commission here in Canada. So just because, the city says you can photograph a house and Transport Canada says you can fly a drone to photograph that house, doesn't mean you can just go and photograph all the neighboring houses around it. You still have to respect the privacy commission. At that point is, if there, like I said, if there are people, with kids or sunbathing in their yard or doing things, you can't just photograph them. You have to basically, you can't interfere with their enjoyment of their property. So you have to wait or pick a time when they're not there. Then you can go over to fly. So it's more about the people. It's less about their property, because essentially is, if you have your property and you display things outside on the property, then it doesn't matter if it's drone or helicopters or any other aircraft, right? Any airborne camera can basically take pictures. You can't really ban that. So that's how we kind of manage it in Canada. However, that's not to say there aren't, people who just don't follow the rules and go out to fly without a probable cause, right? And just fly wherever they want, which I think is really more of the issue here. Talking about privacy, it's not the professionals who follow the rules and do it right. It's people who will say go out to buy a Mini 2 and think they can just fly anywhere they want.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting, especially how are you? What you described was kind of like the commercial side of things. Like, yeah, well, you're going to go photograph this for realty. Like, you have to then, with this law, you would have to then get consent of everyone around the everyone around the neighbor, and how is that going to be realistically possible? Because all it takes is one grumpy neighbor to say, no, you can't photograph my house. So now you
and
can't.
Come on, neighbor feels is common. I've
Yeah.
seen situations where the photographer knocked on the neighbor's door just as a courtesy to say, look, I'm going to be filming this property for sale, and just as a courtesy, I'm going to be flying drones around in the next hour. And because they're neighboring fields, the neighbor actually got upset and deliberately went outside of the house so the photographer couldn't fly.
And we've been talking about people on their private property, but like the way that this law sounds, it's just can't do that to anyone anywhere. So even on public property,
Right. It's not just
So
about people. It's also about the property itself,
Mhm.
the private property itself.
So like imagine going to like a park and there's a soccer game going on. You can't fly a drone because you can't videograph the people
What
playing
about cell
soccer.
phones? I mean, I can understand if you say you can't fly a drone for safety, right? If it
Mhm.
falls on, someone's head, it's not cool if kids are playing soccer there. But if they're talking about privacy, then they can't just ban drone. They have to ban
Yeah,
all camera types.
because there is the ability. Street photography is a very popular thing, and photographers have the right to technically take photos of people in public without their consent. I mean, there are moral considerations you have to take in when doing that, but you technically have the right to do that. And so why are we banning drones from doing that? We're not banning street photographers.
Plus, I think banning drones to photograph, like the
Mhm.
action of photograph versus say banning the use of such photographs or videos, online or to be shared. That's also two different stories.
Mhm.
Because I've seen vloggers who, just travel around and film things. And the good ones, if they see people's faces are there, they blur them out. Right.
Yeah.
Like a Google Street Map, you can blur them out. So there's a difference between I took a picture or I took a video with others in there versus but I blur them out. I'm not putting those on social media. I'm not putting those in the public to expose people's faces in there to invade their privacy, right?
Yeah. Here's another use case that I just figured. Does this extend to private property with people on there? If you're a licensed drone operator doing a work for, a use case for in my personal life was my church was doing outdoor services and they wanted drone footage. And I didn't do the drone footage because I'm not licensed, but my friend who did, and he was doing drone footage of the event with people there, in the service. Can he do that now? Because in Missouri, you would have to get permission from all 200 people who came into that service to be there. So it is like this might kill off a lot of drone activity. Yeah,
Event
in this,
photography
not just
in
in
general.
a city, but in a state. So yeah.
I mean, the general rule of thumb for documentary is you put visible signage at the, let's say the entrance or exits to say this event is being photographed or documented. By entering this property or entering this event, you consent to it. And as long as it's large and visible and people can see it, then that's a form of consent. So also what type of consent is accepted form is also not discussed here. It just the whole thing. I mean, we're not ignoring that. Sure, we have potential issues because the moment the drone goes up in the air, it's different than someone who tries to look at your property through the fence, right? The moment you go up in the air, it does provide a very different perspective. So are there concerns? Of course there are concerns, but banning drones, is that the way to go? I don't really think so. I mean, if someone really want to see what's inside that property, stopping drones it's not going to stop them, right? There are so many other means of doing that.
You're gonna have to start putting up, the anti, drone stuff from the from the DoD to start putting up to stop them from flying over places.
Yeah, what about Google Street View?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah. So Google Street. Yeah, if you're banning everything, I mean, no more Google Street View in the state of Missouri if you're gonna ban all photography. So,
well, we'll see what happens. We'll keep following the story and see if it actually gets passed. Yes. Now, next piece of news. Let me share the screen right here. I find this interesting because this is South Korea testing a drone docking smart city light poles. And if the headline stopped there, I would have said, oh, that's interesting. But then when you continue reading, it says to battle illegal parking. So that's when they lost me. It's why are you we're looking at a very complicated setup here. There's 5G network, there's security, EV charger, and some kind of edge computing, and all of that to battle illegal parking. I mean, how big of an illegal parking issue are we talking about?
Leave it to Seoul to come up with something super cool like this. I mean, like this is such a very much a very South Korea type product to put out there that will probably never make it to the United States because there's going to be so much red tape to figure out to do this. But like, this is like a pretty cool idea. And I was looking to add some sort of drone, component to it for either municipal drones for first responders type operation, or a commercial aspect for delivery drones and stuff like that to pay the charge there or pay to operate with them, which is ingenious for on Seoul's part to put that in there, because that could that just doesn't make them a more 21st century future proofing their city, but also like start making money off our systems. So
well, I guess South Korea can do that because they have one of the fastest internet speeds out there, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah,
they have the network bandwidth to do it.
Yeah, like I want to move to Seoul just for like 1 year, just to experience their internet. Nothing else, just internet. I mean, I know they have great culture and everything, but I want to experience their internet.
Still, I just want to say there's so many things you can do with the station they're proposing, right? The smart city, drone docking light poles. I think that's really cool. I just don't think it should be focused on just to battle illegal parking. Like I said, there are so many cool things you can try with this.
There is a lot of cool things that can happen with this. I mean, this one makes it. I mean, one of the common sense things about like 5G. I mean, this has nothing to do with drones other than we can use them sometimes. But like, why do we not just put 5G on all the towers, all like the short band? Like, oh my, there's so many of them. Like, it just makes sense to me. But yeah, this is this is a very cool idea from Seoul. So
we'll see if they actually produce this.
Yeah, it would be really cool to see it. I mean, I totally have. I mean, this is right up their alley to actually do it. So, and especially battering the illegal parking part as well.
Now let's look at video of the week. This is an interesting one, and I'll include the link in the video description as well. 1 sec. I mean, to me, the intro is a little bit 90s, but the video itself or the bird itself.
Confirmed, birds are fake.
I think we were just talking about this a couple
We
of
were
weeks
just talking
ago.
about this a few weeks ago. People need to stop coming out with these drones to help with the conspiracy theories. Like seriously, it is cool to see these type of drones fly because I know these drones exist or they can practically mimic birds, but I've never seen it in real life. Do that, and it's really cool to actually see a video of it for the first
Apparently,
time.
these guys use it mostly to chase away birds, especially on farm fields, at airports. Apparently, it's effective.
That makes I mean,
You can see it actually chasing birds away.
I bet those wings make some good amount of noise, compared to normal bird wings, and having that thing fly out of a flock of birds, it's probably not. Is that a flock of them? Oh my gosh, no.
They're detecting other birds.
Oh, okay. I
So
look
they're
like that was
detecting.
I thought at first that was a flock of a bunch of those drones, and I'm like, no, you can't do that. But
What, drone bird swarms?
drone burns, yeah, that's just asking for trouble right there. To make them into swarms.
But this is pretty cool, to detect the other birds, species, location, count.
A very genius idea, and something that is very unique to something that can be used also very everywhere, every airport, airports are everywhere. So if they can turn this into a viable business model, that'd be really smart.
Now, gossip time.
Our
Back
favorite time.
to DJI's new drone. The leak is now focused on a smaller drone, right? It's focused on the Mini 3. It's saying that, I mean, when you try to look at what potentially is going on sale from DJI, that usually gives a good indication of what new drones are coming out. So right now, the speculation is on the new Mini 3. Also, with the Air 2 is going to have a discount. We're already March now, so I guess we're still waiting to see the official discount from DJI on Air 2.
Yep, I haven't seen the discount come out yet. But yeah, Azatelvi, he the notorious leaker on Twitter, came out saying that the Mini 3 development has begun. I don't. There was I think it was Deals Drone was another leaker on Twitter. I think that's his handle. Came out saying that we'll see a Mini 3 come out this April. So it looks like that is not true. But we didn't know exactly what that calendar that Deals Drone sent. That could still be like a development calendar. So maybe there's a here's the tweet that maybe that April deadline is not necessarily a production release. It's more maybe it's like internal. We need to have the design or the features done by April, which I think would probably line up with this development has begun, and then by April they have their maybe their idea of what the drone will be, and that's when they start actually building a prototype and production of one. So
I'm looking forward to Inspire 3. FPV Mini, sure, but it's mostly Mini 3 and Inspire 3 that really interests me.
Mini 3 really interests me too. I mean, I have the first generation Mini, and I want to get an updated one. So I think that would
Hopefully
with
sensors.
With sensors?
With obstacle avoidance.
If development has started now, there's no way it doesn't have sensors. Because even though I've had some trouble with the Nano flying, the fact that it has sensors on it is very nice. Like it's not the greatest. Like it's not like, especially just because you only have front, back, bottom. Like it's not like you're not going to get like full awareness, but you're at least going to notice like, oh, hey, that's how far that tree is away from me. So maybe let's not like, go that close to that area. So especially when you're, it's just nice to have. That image also from that image of the Mini 3 Pro is a little skewed. I'm not sure what's up with that image. It looked a little warped somehow.
To say the least.
It looked like someone photoshopped it to be like squished in to fit square, like a rectangle box to be square. But the Mini 3 leaked image just shows a built-in screen controller, which would be interesting for a Mini, because you usually reserve that to the Pro controllers. I can't tell. The one thing is you can't tell the size of the drone because it looks like the image is legitimately skewed. So it looks like it's just a little square puck of a drone.
Yeah, just the way the picture is taken, right?
There's no way it's going to be that tiny. It looks like it only has front sensors. So
But
it
we can't see the bottom sensor, so it's hard
can
to
you see
say.
back suspense? Yeah, you can't really see bottom or back. I mean, you can't really see back, but you'd probably see like a bulge in the back area where the sensors would be, unless it's just one sensor on the back. But no, yeah, definitely Mini 3 coming out, sometime this year, definitely, because with I mean this photo could be easily faked. But with with 2 leaks coming out, that we're gonna see Mini 3 this year. I think it's
And if you are in the northern hemisphere like us, we're really looking forward to, in a couple of weeks, warmer weather and go out to fly more.
We're finally starting to see spring. Like, I think tomorrow's gonna be a nice day. I think I might try to take out my Mini just to fly around. I'm looking to go into a new location to try some stuff out on a cliffside and everything. So it'd be pretty cool.
Well, that's all the news we've got for you this week, and look forward to coming back next week, hopefully with more updates on the new drones coming out this spring. In the meantime, if you have any comments, any other news you'd like us to cover, please share them in the comments down below, and we'll see you back here next Friday.